The former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Mike Jeffries, is arrested.
In the past few months, I've spoken with more men who attended these events, 20 in total. Some told me they were tricked and abused. Others that they were injected with drugs.
Also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward.
It's like, who's feeding them the kids, you know?
Right.
Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
The ex-CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Mike Jeffries, has just been arrested in connection to an underground sex trafficking ring with Sean Diddy Combs. These new charges, with 15 male victims coming forward and alleging sexual abuse, are just a small glimpse of what is coming for Diddy in the future. Stay with us as we peel back the layers and take a deeper look into the FBI's first arrest of a person on Diddy's list.
We have some breaking news right now. Get this, the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Mike Jeffries, is arrested in connection to a sex trafficking case. Prosecutors have been investigating allegations that Jeffries ran a sex trafficking operation involving young men. Jeffries was arrested this morning in Florida as part of an investigation led by federal prosecutors in New York. This story is developing. For more details, you can visit our website, fox32chicago.com.
Mr. Jeffries, any comments about the charges? Anything you want to say to your accusers?
The arrest of Mike Jeffries has sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the music industry, showing just how far Diddy's influence reached. The allegations against Mike are serious and claim that Mike used his power and status as CEO to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure. At times, these victims would even be injected with an erection-inducing substance when they were incapable or unwilling to participate.
The former boss of the fashion giant Abercrombie & Fitch and his British partner have been arrested on charges of running a prostitution and international sex trafficking business following a 2-year-long BBC investigation. The FBI began looking into the claims that Mike Jeffries and his partner Matthew Smith sexually exploited and abused men at events they hosted in their New York residences and hotels around the world. Lawyers for both men and a third man who's been arrested have previously denied any wrongdoing. They'll appear in court on Friday. Rihanna Croxford broke the story that led to the FBI's initial investigation. Here's her report.
Mike Jeffries, the mogul behind a global fashion brand. His vision made billions for Abercrombie & Fitch. He's now facing criminal charges.
To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Authorities began their own investigation. This morning, the FBI arrested the former fashion boss and his British partner in Florida. Evidence gathered by the BBC found there was a highly organised operation involving this middleman, James Jacobson, now also arrested. In the past few months, I've spoken with more men who attended these events, 20 in total. Some told me they were tricked and abused, others that they were injected with drugs. A lawyer for Mr. Jeffries told the BBC, "We will respond in detail to the allegations after the indictment is unsealed and when appropriate, but plan to do so in the courthouse, not the media." Tonight, Mike Jeffries was released on bail. If convicted, he and the others accused could face life in prison. Rihanna Croxford, BBC News.
Horrifying stories of sexual abuse within Hollywood and the music industry are slowly coming out, and the people that facilitated this abuse are some of the most powerful men in the country. Ex-presidents, CEOs, athletes, and even music legends were all involved in the abuse that occurred. These people weren't just silent, they were complicit.
There you go.
Hey, y'all. Thank you. And I just want to say how much I appreciate Puff Daddy for doing the kinds of work that he's doing, because he doesn't have to do this. But this is part of what is important about giving back.
Yes, we applaud you, and I want to apologize for not sweating, but I do this so much. I'm so cool. I just want y'all to see everybody I'm interviewing is sweating. I'm not even touching my brow. I'm so cool, and I want to apologize. I ain't trying to make you look bad or nothing like that, but I'm just so cool. We
a t-shirt. I tell you, if he was wearing one of those fancy designer clothes he's designing, he'd be sweating just like me.
It truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh yeah, he's glittering. Well, now when we come back, we're gonna talk more with Puffy, and if you want to hang out, more than welcome to stick around.
The idea that there are sexual predators in power, not just in Hollywood, but I think all across any place there's a boss with underlings in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of sexual politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to inappropriate behavior to the point of harassment and sexual predatory behavior.
Well, I mean, I think people understand that, but the larger question is there a culture of complicity in Hollywood where women are afraid to speak up because they'll be blacklisted, men are afraid to speak up because either they're out of the same fear or they just think, well, this is the way the system works.
I think there are people that say, hey, this is how it works, pure and simple, and this is why I got into it, and this is why I have power. This is how it works, and you have to understand that. That does not carry the day. Complicity is also complicity. The people who know, well, look, this is how we do business, and that's what it's got to be done. I'm sorry it's like that. So beware. That's also present, without a doubt, but it does not carry the day. There's also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward, that signed negotiated settlement deals of which a non-disclosure agreement was part and parcel to it. That also does not carry the day.
With the arrest of Mike Jeffries, other celebrities are trying to distance themselves from the drama. They know that this arrest is only the first, and with actual video evidence found in Diddy's mansion implicating not one, but hundreds of celebrities, everyone is wishing they're not on the tapes. Diddy had over 250 cameras in his house, along with hard drugs and hookers, so who knows what those cameras caught.
It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's something about the music, clothing, movies. They not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking, and they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught spilling a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched, and Brother Love was watching.
Criminal defense attorneys, and even celebrities themselves, have started talking about how Diddy might just be a scapegoat, and in reality, the FBI are looking for someone else. You have to keep in mind that the people that Diddy's tapes are going to expose aren't just no-name music artists. Even foreign government heads were going to Diddy's freak-off parties, and now the tapes have already started leaking. Kevin Hart, Usher, and even Justin Bieber have all been seen in the tapes.
How do you feel about the situation that Diddy in?
Let's say this. Something else is going on. They didn't raid, they searched with a warrant his premises on the West Coast, right? They searched his premises on the East Coast in Florida, right? On the same property that the premises was located that they searched in Florida, he had a second mansion. They didn't touch that one. Why not? And when they walk out of there, they got a small trash bag and they have a medium-sized cardboard box. What was it they seized that would fit into those items? I have a sneaking suspicion from my background in criminal defense that what they seized was some evidence that was very incriminating to other people. Now, after they seized the evidence, they had no probable cause to arrest him on any crime. He hasn't been indicted. They talked to him at an airport before he got on a private jet to fly to an island that has no extradition agreement with the United States. Have you heard anybody trying to prosecute him?
Not at all.
So what did they do? See, the feds are interesting. Who served the search warrant?
Homeland Security.
Now, what the hell do they have to do with that? That's a FBI mandate.
As we peel back the layers of this conspiracy, we see that Diddy is only the first domino to fall if his tapes are exposed. So far, 9 tapes have been found, with 8 of them being in the possession of the FBI, handed over by Courtney Burgess, while 1 tape has even been found by TMZ. Allegedly, these tapes are available for purchase on the dark web and are selling for over $500,000 each.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appeared to
Let
be.
me rephrase it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appear to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They victims.
Or were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized,
Yeah.
meaning
Victim.
this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
You made a lot of allegations, right? Are you expected to eventually turn those things over, or?
Well, that's what we're going to head over to do now. So we have a hearing now to determine what we're going to do in terms of what documents we'll have to turn over and what documents we do not have.
So why were you in court today?
Just to give testimony to the grand jury. He was subpoenaed by the court, so as we all know, if you don't answer a subpoena, the marshals will come to your house as they came to his house and they will bring you here. So that's why we're here today.
I know you can't mention celebrities per se. You did mention some in the interview. So just to clarify, you can back that up with actual factual footage.
We have, it's things that we have, but we got to go to the other courthouse. So I don't know if that's any more questions, but we got another hearing to go.
Are you nervous or do you feel cool?
Nah, I ain't never nervous. The only thing that's fair to me is God.
I know you did mention what was on the flash drive before. Would you be able to kind of go over that now, or is that something that you can't discuss?
No, we're trying to discuss that now, what we will be able to talk to in terms of what was available and what was on those flash drives.
Okay.
But it was the book,
So it is Kim Porter's book, but not necessarily some of the stuff with the celebs that were mentioned besides.
It's hers. Nobody touched it.
Oh, so it is her official book.
Yes. Nobody.
And no one touched it?
Nobody altered it, nothing.
So it's not the copy that the gentleman said that he was selling before, no?
No.
It's two different copies. That one was edited, and we have the original copy.
The tapes found by TMZ and viewed by their producer show minors being sexually abused at a Diddy party, and allegedly, some of these minors were even being forced to use drugs. The party planner of Diddy, Tanea Wallace, has also come forward and given a statement about what she witnessed. And let's just say, if those tapes come out, no one is escaping prison.
And I want to start with Tanea Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashley. So what she said was that she was flown out from LA to Miami by the Saudi prince. And they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, you know, among many other things, I mean, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. And they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's Harak something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway.
I know the name, but I've forgotten it. But go ahead.
So she explained that that they were just clustered around these little people. And I kept pushing her. And she eventually said, look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party. And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on at the house, even at 7 a.m, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
Tanea Wallace's statement, plus the fact that the producers at TMZ have seen the tapes themselves, shows you just how rampant and normalized the abuse at Diddy's parties was. Young stars were being coerced and manipulated by Diddy, who used his power and status to threaten them and their parents. Allegedly, Diddy would tell minors that if they did not do what he asked, he would destroy their career. Victims as young as 7 years old have been verified, and the more you dig into this story, the more horrifying it gets.
And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told.
Yeah. So the this was a threesome. What you would ask me about earlier about Tanea Wallace, she said there were more than 100 people at that party, including at least 4 celebrities. But this, what you're talking about now, was a threesome, and that's something that the U.S. attorney even referenced, and his lawyer in an earlier documentary we did. He was describing threesomes. He says it was all consensual. So yes, what we're told is that this male sex worker was flown out to various locations over a couple of years: Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and one other. And they would meet in hotel rooms, and Diddy would often watch as he would have sex with this woman who was associated with Diddy. So that seems to be what the feds are looking at right now in terms of alleged sex trafficking, if they are transporting somebody and perhaps paying them to cross state lines. That could end up being part of sex trafficking. Now, we know that this guy got a subpoena and he ended up not testifying before the grand jury, but talking to prosecutors. And we're told that he left that tape with them.
And in fact, if he was transported, if he was even consensual in that setup, you're right, that is sex trafficking. It's classic federal crime to cross state lines for the purpose of selling sex. But it also comports just with the description of many of the other incidents that did sound illegal, where there was, heavy intoxication involved.
Given the severity of the allegations and the widespread abuse that Diddy helped facilitate, It has already been announced that his trial will be public. Diddy has been trying to get a closed trial arranged, but the attorneys bringing charges against him have said that they would name anyone and everyone that worked with Diddy.
We intend to name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names, and you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case, because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, and I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
The horrors that this investigation is exposing will be remembered for generations to come. Diddy has been named as the principal suspect in at least 15 new lawsuits in the last week alone, with some of these lawsuits alleging that Diddy was involved in the rape of minors younger than 10 years old. The lawsuit, which was filed on the 29th of October, claims that back in 2005, a member of Diddy's team provided the alleged 10-year-old minor with a soda that had been drugged with GHB or ecstasy. The boy began feeling disoriented, and it was then, the suit alleges, that Diddy coerced him into a sexual act before he lost consciousness.
The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward. Our team has had at this point more than 3,285 individuals contact us, with people claiming to have been victimized by Sean Combs. After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases. Most of these people are scared. They fear backlash in their communities. They fear backlash in their own families. They are afraid of retaliation from the perpetrators and their associates. They are rightly afraid for their own personal safety. I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. And as is always the case in situations like this when a celebrity is involved, stated, we are vetting every call that we receive. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues, we check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. I don't want to focus on these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024. If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct.
Cassie Diddy's ex-girlfriend, and even his former associates like Lil Rod and Gene Deal have all attested to the fact that Diddy had violent tendencies and would often lash out. The silence that Diddy bought with his influence and power is finally about to end, and once the veil of lies comes off, Diddy and his whole ring of predators are going to jail. The music industry, Jeffrey Epstein, is finally about to be exposed for his crimes.
There are a lot of people in Hollywood who are probably worried about which Diddy parties they were at and what was going on. That's not to say that they were necessarily even involved in any of the things that are alleged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. But if you're at that party and it turns out that that's when he set up one of these freak-off sex parties, or that it was going on in another room and you didn't know about it, there's a good chance that you're going to be called by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And certainly if you were involved, you would get a call because they're going to want to know everything you want to know and may even want you to be a witness. I just think, we're just starting to scratch the surface of what this case, this case is going to touch and involve. And the feds have said that this remains an open investigation. There could be more charges for Diddy. There could be more charges for other people involved. And usually the way this works is once they find out other people are involved or were witnesses, they bring them in and they sort of lean on them. And it's sort of like, you're going to cooperate with us, or there's a possibility that you could face charges. So this is going to be a slow developing a case here because we're just getting started. And I don't see how this trial begins anytime before next year.
Why were people silent for so long? It's evident now that everyone in the industry knew what Diddy was doing, and A-list celebrities, including Eminem, 50 Cent, Wendy Williams, and even Kanye West, had all hinted at it. But why did no one ever go to the police? Well, the thing is that Diddy's influence reached into the police itself. In 1999, Diddy was the prime suspect in a shooting case where both the victims testified against him, and he was found with the gun used in the shooting. But despite that, he was never arrested.
JT haven't even came out and said anything, and him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man didn't led them probably allegedly probably led them to damnation, because those people's hearts are going to be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you gotta take your clothes off. He said that himself, bruh. So a lot of them, like what was what he said? I think a lot of them was being swallowed. Have you ever been swallowed? They tell off on themselves all the time, man. You just gotta listen.
Diddy's victims are now coming forward, and one of these victims, Natanya Ruben, the person that Diddy allegedly shot in 1999, is so determined to have Diddy arrested that she would be willing to get bullet shrapnel from her face removed. Diddy's time has finally come, and with more than 36 lawsuits and over 200 verified victims coming forward, It looks like Hollywood's worst nightmare is finally about to end.
Supporters of Sean Diddy Combs have come forward since our interview with Natanya Rubin. And you remember we talked to her. She says that Diddy is the one who shot her at that club. But the supporters are now saying that Diddy didn't even want to take a plea deal in the 1999 club shooting because he was, quote, so sure of his innocence. They also said that information from someone who is claiming things that aren't true, who's looking for a payday. They said payday is not going to change that. Natanya Rubin joins us once again now. Natanya, we appreciate your time again. First of all, I want to know your reaction to these people now around Diddy who are coming out in support of him, saying that he was so sure of his innocence and that that's the reason he didn't take a plea deal in the case that you were involved in where you got shot.
So first and foremost, Brian, thank you for having me back on. And I give very little credibility to what they're saying because while everyone else is Monday morning quarterbacking, I am the survivor. And it is my assertion wholeheartedly that Mr. Combs was inappropriately charged originally. His charges should have mirrored that of Mr. Jamal Shine Barrow. He should have been charged with attempted murder, a reckless endangerment, criminal possession of a weapon, and firing that weapon in an open environment.
And you bring up Shine. One of the questions that I've gotten several times since the last time we spoke to you is that people want to know whether you believe that Shine was convicted of a crime he didn't commit because he is the one who ultimately...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Jamal Shine Barrow admitted on the Combat Jack podcast back in the days, rest in peace to Combat Jack, he admitted that he fired his gun and shot Julius Jones in the shoulder. Mr. Combs did not have accountability for what he did. I physically, who better to tell you what happened than the person who got shot smack dab in between my eyes?
Back then, Natanya, do you feel like they had made up their mind about who they were going to blame for this before they even talked to you, or?
Listen, here's what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Respectability politics. He was a notable figure. He was a multimillionaire. He had popularity, fame, all of a perfect storm of you get away with it. We know the country we live in. Unfortunately, those who have the money can oftentimes get away with their crimes. Unfortunately, and those who don't have the same social ranking are overlooked. And that's what has happened. By the grace of God, God saw fit to keep me whole, keep my mind sane and functioning, and keep me alive for such a time as this. And make no mistake, the gravity of the danger and the peril that I face and that I'm exposed to for having my say now, for what was done to me 24 years ago is not lost on me. But let me make clear beyond a shadow of a doubt. I am not now, nor have I ever been suicidal. I love life. And I'm grateful that God spared my life back on that fateful day on December 27th, 1999. I'm a living miracle.
If Diddy goes down, who will he take down with him? Recently, in an episode of The Joe Rogan Experience with comedian Andrew Schulz, Joe Rogan talked about how Diddy isn't working alone, and it's entirely possible that this is a cover-up to recover footage that might incriminate bigger and more powerful people. During the infamous Pizzagate conspiracy, Diddy's downfall could be the key to unraveling an intricate web of complicity, stretching from Hollywood elites to political power players. But as the truth begins to surface, the question remains, how deep does this conspiracy go? And who will be exposed next?